call you next week and we'll get it started.
Can you remember the number this time?
Yes, 861-7484.
Call me.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to show my age a little bit by asking you to remember the TV show The Love Boat. You remember the Love Boat? There was a captain, and I think his name was Captain Stubing, the character name. And I don't know if this was the whole length of the show, but this goes way back, so you have to kind of be old like us in order to remember this.
Love Boat.
Your Love Boat. Remember the captain had a niece or something that was on the board?
His daughter.
Oh, that was his daughter. Okay.
Yep, was his daughter.
And the captain was one time explaining why he was divorced from her mother, right?
Yes.
Right. And the captain said, and so everybody as a viewer is going, oh my gosh, he's going to tell her what he did wrong, what he did. And he said to her, I had a mistress. And the little girl was like, oh my God, that was her dad, huh?
Yes.
I guess I never sunk in. Okay.
Yep.
So she's looking at him as you would expect a daughter to, oh my gosh, you cheated on mom. And he says, my mistress was the sea. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, everybody goes, "Oh, yeah. Okay, oh, we can forgive you for that."
Relief.
But if that was a real life situation, think how many people have a mistress in quotes that is a job or whatever, a passion or something like that. And then, of course, there are the real mistresses. There are the women on the side, and I know, Robin, you pointed this out a lot before we got. When we first got this book that we're going to talk about, that women engage in this too.
Right.
This book is mainly for men, maybe exclusively for men. It's called Out of the Doghouse. It's kind of interesting to look through because you can see so many ways. If you're a man, you're going to say, oh my gosh, I kind of did this. Even if you didn't have an affair, you kind of like crossed the line. Maybe you were a little bit too flirty with somebody and you just don't realize how much that hurts your wife, your girlfriend. Robert Weiss has a list of credentials. He's a digital age intimacy and relationships expert. He's a senior vice president of National Clinical Development for Elements Behavioral Health. He's a contributor to the Oprah Winfrey Network, the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, the Daily Beast, CNN. What an honor to have him on our little show to teach us about this. Again, the book is titled Out of the Doghouse, a step-by-step relationship-saving guide for men caught cheating. Robert Weiss, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good, but I got to say, Larry and Robin love boats.
I know.
Are you too young?
I'm really reaching now. I mean, I can't even get half my friends to know who Mary Tyler Moore was.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying it's saying a little bit about you guys. Just saying.
Yeah.
It says we're old.
We're old. We're proud of it.
But the scene that I was recreating for everybody, whether you knew the show or not, doesn't that say something about this? I mean, isn't this the topic of?
Yes.
Because your definition of cheating or infidelity is interesting because it does encompass that.
Well, I wrote a book because I would say exclusively for men, but the reality is that every self-help book, or about 90% are bought by women, and if it applies to a man, she's either going to give it to him or throw it at him. And
oh my gosh, yes. In this case,
I wrote a book for a woman to read and throw at her man and say, you know what, you want me back? These are the things you're going to have to do, and this is how you learn what happens when a woman gets betrayed.
How does she ever want him back? I've often thought of this. If you are a woman and you're with a guy who cheated, not on you but on somebody else, how do you know? How do you trust him ever?
It's a really interesting question because, and that's a very interesting question because about 95% of the people I work with stay together. And this is actually a mistake that some therapists make, a lot of friends make, is they say, oh, well, how could you stay that person? You got to leave. Well, meanwhile, they're in their happy marriages, in their happy homes, saying to their friend, you should leave your husband. And the reality is, people have a lot more in common than sex. I mean, they have homes, they have families, they have kids, they have church, they have community, and finances. And a lot of people don't want to break all of that up, plus their history, because somebody cheated. But they're not happy about it.
The part of the book, very early in the book, where you, in italics, you define infidelity, and I want to read it so that I can ask you a question. You define it this way. I know it's defined longer, but in the italics it says, infidelity or cheating is the breaking of trust that occurs when you keep intimate, meaningful secrets from your primary romantic partner. With that understanding of what infidelity is, does that explain why in France, for example, men have a mistress and there doesn't seem to be a problem? Is because the wife knows about the lady? Is that why?
Well, I would say that there are some French ladies who are not particularly thrilled with that arrangement, but the reality is that they know about it, and it's exactly as you said, Larry. I mean, if my spouse and I agree that I look at a little porn occasionally, and it's not a problem, and so does she has her own little whatever, and fine, but. She goes to my computer one day, she sees some porn, she thinks, ooh, gosh, I wonder what kind of women he looks at, or, I wonder what kind of things he's into, and that, or maybe they're a little embarrassed. But, if you have no idea that I ever look at porn, and it's not a part of our values or our belief system, and then you go into my computer and you find hundreds of pictures, you're going to be pissed. And not because I look at porn necessarily, but because I didn't tell you. And that's really what betrays a spouse the most. It's not that you went and had sex with someone. It's that I live with you, I love you, we share a life together, we share a future together, and I'm depending on that going a certain way. And now I have no idea who you are.
Yeah. Is looking at porn the same as sexting?
Well, okay. I think this is now we're dividing. Now we're cutting hairs, which is exactly what I wrote that definition for. Because there is certainly a difference between looking at an image and communicating with another person. But I've had guys who were full on in webcam sex with other women in other parts of the country and turn to their spouse and say, well, this is just like modern Playboy. My dad looked at Playboy and I do this, and heck, I'm never going to know her or see her, and she lives thousands of miles away, so what's the big deal? And it's a really big deal to her.
Okay, so you're in the doghouse, and the book is to help us get out of the doghouse, and it does say step by step. So before you talk about all the steps, and you're never going to be able to get it all in on a little radio interview, but what's one mistake that a man might make?
Well, I do want to say what the first step is, since you brought that up, and then I'll talk about mistake. The first step of being in the doghouse is you got to realize you're in it. And when guys do things like, and by the way, I wrote this book for cheating men who are cheating on their women. And why did I write that? Because there are more of them, and they get in more in trouble. And we can talk about why women get away with it more readily and all of that, but the reality is this is a book for men. And so, ask your question. I'm sorry. Please repeat it.
I was wondering about the mistakes.
Right.
Yeah, if you...
Right.
Yeah.
So the first mistake they make is not realizing they're in the doghouse. Because, when you've hurt somebody deeply and you don't really understand the depth of pain that they're experiencing, you might think, well, candy and flowers and saying I'm sorry and, gosh, a couple of months will go by and we'll be fine. And when you have betrayed a woman profoundly in terms of her faith in you, that doesn't go away in a short period of time. And a guy has to realize it might be a year or more before things really get better. So the mistakes are things like saying, oh, honey, come on, give me a break. It's been a month. Or, I'm just going to take you on the best vacation ever, and we're just going to forget all about this. It doesn't work that way. So those are the kinds of things.
Somebody in the public eye who was very, very upfront about his infidelity was David Letterman. And in an interview after he got off the air, he was talking about how it's still not back to normal. And I think that maybe 10 years had gone by since that incident that was all over the news.
Well, I really think that it's important for people to understand that, and every therapist knows this, is that once you engage in profound infidelity of one kind or another, your relationship will never be the same. Now, with work, it might be a better relationship, a different relationship, whatever that turns out to be. But, Beyonce said it better than I can ever say it. She said, betrayal is like a plate. When you break it, you may be able to glue it back together and use it, but you'll always see the crack.
Is there ever a reason she'll understand as to why he was not? What's the word? Infidel? What's the word I'm looking for here?
First of all, there are couples who have open relationships. I certainly know women who have profoundly painful medical conditions, or maybe they're extremely ill, and they want their spouse to go out and have some pleasure and then come back to them and be able to enjoy the relationship. There are all kinds of ways we get to live our relationships. The problem is not that. The problem is the lying. It's so funny to me. I mean, when I say to a guy, look, you're in business. If you made a commitment not to work with a competitor and then you did, you'd probably get sued. But you make a commitment to this woman that you're going to live a certain way, and then you decide to change it on your own, you're going to get in big trouble. It works because you broke your word. You broke your your contract with that person. And if you want to go have an affair, go back to your spouse and say, I'm thinking about having an affair. What do you think? And if it's okay with her, it's not going to be a problem.
Gosh.
Well, be upfront and honest, then. That's a good idea.
Oh, my gosh.
I think it's a good idea.
That would break my heart. I mean, from a man's perspective, if a woman said that to me, oh, my gosh, it would break my heart. I would cry.
And guess what? And guess what, Larry? And guess what? She would look at your pain, and she would begin to realize how much she means to you. And she might make that decision not to have the affair because she realizes how much it would hurt you. And that is intimacy.
This is an interesting topic, and nobody's ever brought it to our show before. So congratulations on coming up with something that is so different. And I'm guessing I'm not the first to tell you that. All right, I have a copy of the book. I'm guessing if you want this book, you don't want anybody to know you want the book. So
well, this is the beauty of being able to buy. There's a reason why 50 Shades of Grey sold porn so well to women, and it's because they could buy it and put it on a reader, and it looked like they're reading the Bible. No one would really know.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you don't want to worry about your husband's cheating, or or your boyfriend's cheating. Go buy Out of the Doghouse in an e-reader, and then you can hand him the real book, or throw your e-reader at him.
There you go. Oh, now I do have a copy of the book, so if you want, I'll put it in a brown paper bag, and you can come pick it up.
Yeah, it'll
just have
it's not porn.
No, oh, come on. You know that if a man wants this book, he's going to be embarrassed to come pick it up.
Yeah,
because he's going to have to go to the front. He's going to have to go to the front desk.
I'm not going to buy this book. Look, Larry, when I go to the dentist, I was at the dentist recently, and she said, "What are you working on?" And I said, "I wrote this book." And she said, "Oh my God, I've got 3 girlfriends are being cheated on right now." And so that's who's going to get this book. It's going to be all the friends of friends who hear that their best friend is being cheated on, and she needs to read this book.
All right, let's see if a man or a woman calls. This is a heads or tails. What do you think, Robin? A man or a woman? If you want the book.
I vote for a woman.
If you want the book, call me right now, and it'll be here waiting for you. It's called Out of the Doghouse, a step-by-step relationship-saving guide for men caught cheating by Robert Weiss. If you want this book, call me right now. We want to see if a man or a woman calls. 622-9622. The rest of us do have to go buy it online, though, or wherever books are sold. And I'm with you. I think the ebook reader is the best way to do this, but... Do you have a website as well?
My website is, my name is Robert Weiss, MSW. But you can go on Amazon. I have an author page. Mostly the last 25 years I've written about and been a primary therapist for people with profound infidelity problems and sex addiction. I've watched that whole experience go by, and now, with the internet, I have a lot of people with porn problems. So, this is my area of expertise. And honestly, I wrote the book because I work with unfaithful couples day in and day out, and they make the same mistakes over and over again when they're just trying to heal. And that's what I wanted them to understand, how they could do that.
Well, you won the bet. A woman called in for it, so thank you for calling
Good job.
in. I lost, Robert. I thought for sure a man was going to call in. Robert,
so I get a free book, right?
You get a free book, yes.
That's right.
Robert, you're a fun interview as well as different topic for sure. A specialty that it needs in our society. You need this. I don't know if it would work in France. Out of the Doghouse. Robert Weiss, thank you so much for being on the air with us today.
Hey, it's a pleasure, guys, and let's see if we can. Oh, I'm here in town, by the way.
Where are you?
Yeah, I'm at the Hilton in Clearwater, and I'm speaking tonight, and it is open to the public tonight at 7 o'clock. And I was thinking about what you said. Will a couple want to go in? And, you can just pretend you're going in for your friends.
Exactly.
You don't have to come in for yourself. But I'm going to give a 2-hour lecture for therapists, and I thought, heck, this is just to be for therapists. Let's invite the public. And if anybody wants to come and understand how to heal betrayal or how to work with a spouse that they've really harmed, come on by, and I think you might learn a few things.
All right, the Clearwater Hilton. What time?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Robert. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for being on the show.
It was a pleasure, you guys. Be well.
All right, we'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. On this Wednesday, it'll be windy and warm with clouds and some sun. Watch out for a shower and thunderstorm during the afternoon and evening hours. High 76 in the northern part of the zone to 83 in the south. Wednesday night will turn out partly cloudy and cooler, low 47 in the northern interior sections to 56 along the coast of the south. Thursday, partly sunny, breezy, and cool, high 69 to 73. Friday, partly sunny, high 72 to 76. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Joe Lundberg.
Are you wasting hundreds